Hello and welcome to what is the second episode of the L15 Weekly podcast, giving you the latest news, views and opinions from the football world. Coming up on this week's episode, we have the latest transfer news and rumours. We also have an EFL special. We of course have your top 5 heroes of the week, and we have a Premier League special. Let's get into it. Quique Setien, who we talked about in last week's episode, won his first game in charge of Barcelona against a 10-man Granada. He won 1-0 with a goal from Messi in the 76th minute, sealing the win. German Sanchez received the red card for Granada. Manchester City star Sergio Aguero is wanted by David Beckham's Inter Miami in what would be a stunning transfer move. The Argentine striker scored in a 1-0 win against Sheffield United on Tuesday night. Arsenal are reportedly interested in midfielder John Fleck of Sheffield United. Sheffield United would consider letting him go for only £20 million. Manchester United are hopeful that they can get a £55 million deal over the line for the Portugal international Bruno Fernandes by the end of the week. Edinson Cavani has handed in a PSG transfer request according to sporting director Leonardo. Cavani, who turns 33 in February, joined PSG from Napoli in 2013 for a £55 million move and has scored 195 goals in 269 appearances. Manchester United have made a bid in excess of £30 million for Birmingham's 16-year-old midfielder Jude Bellingham. He has 25 appearances this season with 4 goals scored and an impressive 13 chances created. Manchester United scouts watched Moussa Dembele and Boubakary Soumaré in a League Cup semi-final on Tuesday night. The Lyon striker and Lille midfielder were against each other in the League Cup semi-final. Dembele has scored 15 goals in 29 appearances this season. Dembele scored from the penalty spot in a 2-all draw. The match went to penalties. The 23-year-old scored his penalty in the game and scored his penalty in the penalty shootout. Old Trafford scouts have watched him against Nantes in last weekend's game, which he got a goal and an assist in a 4-3 win. Boubakary Soumaré has 2.5 years left on his contract at Lille. He told L'Equipe that he wants to stay at Lille until the end of the season, amid interest from Chelsea, Arsenal, Real Madrid and Valencia. Bayern Munich have signed Real Madrid right-back Alvaro Odriozola on loan until the end of the season. The 24-year-old had fallen out of favour under Zidane, with Bayern lacking in the right full-back position. Aston Villa captain Jack Grealish has told the club that he is fully focused on keeping them up this season. This comes after their club's 2-1 win over Watford. Liverpool, Chelsea and Tottenham are among a host of clubs monitoring Lille striker Victor Osimhen. The Nigerian international is expected to stay at Lille for the rest of the season unless the French club receives an offer that is too good to refuse. It's now time for your weekly EFL update here on L15 Weekly. So starting in the Championship, Nottingham Forest have signed Diakabi from Huddersfield until the end of the season. The 23-year-old joined the Terriers from Monaco in July 2018 and has made 18 appearances this season. Sheffield United have signed Nottingham Forest defender Jack Robinson for an undisclosed fee. He will join the Blades on a 2.5-year deal. Leeds have also signed goalkeeper Elia Caprice for an undisclosed fee from Chievo. The 18-year-old will join on a 3.5-year deal. Moving down into League One now, Bristol City defender Bailey Wright has been loaned to Sunderland until the end of the season. Also, Josh Vela has signed for Shrewsbury Town after being released by Hibernian. He will join on a 2.5-year deal. Jamie Murphy has also joined Burton Albion on loan for the rest of the season from Rangers. Moving into League 2 now, Macclesfield have completed a double swoop for Derby's John Mitchell and Salford City's Danny Whitehead, both on loan until the end of the season. Former Norwich forward Simeon Jackson has signed for Stevenage after leaving Kilmarnock. The Canadian international has joined until the end of the season. He got 21 goals in 85 appearances for Norwich. So on to your heroes of the week now, and if you want your hero of the week mentioned in next week's episode, be sure to comment them down below or put them on Twitter at L15weekly. So first up, we have 2 players as our heroes of the week. We have Isaac Hayden of Newcastle, and Florian Lejeune. They're going to go as one because they are for the same reason, and that is Newcastle's late goals. So Lejeune scored 2 goals in a 2-all draw versus Everton in the 90 plus 4th minute and 90 plus 5th minute. That's incredible. So the French centre-back scored those goals, and they were 2-0 down in that game. Moise Kean and Calvert-Lewin scoring the goals for Everton early on in that game. They clawed it back right at the depth with a goal that was determined by goal line technology for the draw. Isaac Hayden also scored a late goal in a 1-0 win versus Chelsea after 90 plus 4 minutes. Newcastle had 30% of possession. Chelsea had 19 shots, 4 on target, compared to Newcastle's 7 shots and 2 on target. They had 30% possession in that game. Incredible from both those players to get late goals in those games. Our second hero of the week is chosen by you as well. Erling Braut Haaland scored a hat-trick in the Dortmund game against Ajax Augsburg. They were 3-1 down when the 19-year-old came on, scored a hat-trick and inspired them to a 5-3 win. The Norwegian £17.1 million man scored 28 goals in 22 games for RB Salzburg this season. The third hero of the week goes to Ciro Immobile, who scored a hat-trick in a 5-1 win against Sampdoria. He scored 2 penalties in that game. Caicedo and Bastos with the other 2 goals for Lazio. That puts Lazio third in the table, 6 points off top spot and 10 points away from the Europa League spots below them. Immobile is also top of the Serie A scoring charts with 23 goals. The Italian is 7 ahead of second place Cristiano Ronaldo. He's 29 years old and he's got 5 assists so far this season as well, and a 7.85 average rating in the Serie A this season. Incredible. Our fourth hero of the week is Budimir Ante. The 28-year-old scored 2 goals against Valencia in a 4-1 win for Mallorca. Other goals from Railo and Rodriguez. The Croatian has scored 8 goals in 19 matches in La Liga, which is good for a newly promoted side. He's strong in the air, 6'2", and he's a cracking finisher in front of goal. So that is a well-deserved hero of the week, Budimir Ante. Our next hero of the week is Hans van Aken of Club Brugge, who scored 2-1 in a derby match versus Anderlecht in a 2-1 win. That leaves them top of the league by 10 points and leaves their rivals Anderlecht 9th in the table. Bruges' captain has scored 11 goals this season in 22 games from attacking midfield. That is an incredible record. That is a goal every 2 games for him. He joined Bruges in 2015 for a £3.6 million fee. So that is another well-deserved hero of the week. So keep those suggestions coming in if you want your player of the week in our heroes of the week. So comment them down below in the comment section. Follow me on Twitter at L15weekly, or follow me on Instagram at L15weekly as well. And comment in the comment sections on those to see if your player can reach hero of the week next week. So on this week's episode of L15 Weekly, I'm joined by Premier League expert and avid Wolves fan, Bish. Bish, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So Bish is going to come on. He's going to talk about the Premier League season so far and what we can expect from the rest of the season. So Bish, do you think this year's Premier League season has been predictable?
I mean, the unpredictability has changed from team to team. I mean, last season, we expected Liverpool to be very dominant going into the new season due to them ending Man City's unbeaten streak. But it's changed with the teams lower down in the table, like teams like Arsenal, who are struggling to get into the top half of the table, and teams like Aston Villa, who are just about managing to scrape themselves out of the relegation zone, considering how much they spent during the summer transfer window.
And who would you say are the standout performance this year?
Well, there's been 2 teams that have really stood out for me this year, and they're both pushing up in that top 6 category, really. Those 2 teams are Sheffield United and Southampton. I think Chris Wilder for Sheffield United has been absolutely influential for the club coming into the Premier League. It's unreal the work rate that they've put into this. And then on to Southampton, the increasing form of Danny Ings has really been influential for them, because he's just managed to put away goal after goal, and it's really kept them pushing towards those top 6 places, and they might even push into those top 6 places if he keeps his form up.
And obviously both of these teams were both tipped for relegation at the start of the season, so you consider the turnaround that they've gone considering what the pundits were saying at the start of the season. And of course, a lot of money being spent by Premier League teams in the summer transfer window. Who would you say has been the best summer signing?
I mean, to be honest, Louis, the Premier League hasn't really been blessed with summer signings this year. It's been quite disappointing when it comes to new players coming to the teams. I think Dan James has done very well for Man United. He's racked up a few assists and a few goals. But there's been players like Wesley who haven't done exactly as expected at Villa.
I mean, the end of the season, isn't he?
I know, yeah. He's done well. He's racked up a few goals. He is a very good player when he came in, but it's just the fact that he needs to keep his form going. Obviously, he's injured at the moment, but when they get him back, I think he could be, if he gets his form back, he could be really influential for the club. But then it was Leicester who made their Tielemans move permanent, and that has really helped bolster their midfield.
And with lots of teams sort of milling around the relegation zone, who would you think are going down to the Championship this season?
Well, there's been a few teams that could potentially go down this season. I think Norwich, even though they have played extremely well up until this point of the season, I think it's very unfortunate they are sitting at the bottom of the table. I think Bournemouth are struggling at the moment. I think Eddie Howe, considering he's an extremely good manager, I think he'll be disappointed with where Bournemouth are at the moment. I think also Aston Villa could be tipped to go down. But after their recent 2-1 late winner against Watford, they could improve their form and it could tip them just over the edge just to keep them in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's a classic 6-pointer, that one, with Mings / Ezri Konsa scoring the late goal there.
Yeah, it was. I think also Watford could be tipped for that relegation battle. I think considering how they ended the season last year, you would have expected them to even be pushing up for those top 10s maybe in the Premier League this season. But considering where they are at the moment, I don't think they'll even get into the top half of the table, to be honest.
Obviously, that FA Cup run at the end of last season, ending in that devastating final defeat for them, probably didn't give them the best amount of momentum going into this season, of course. Who would you say has been the most underrated players of this season?
I think, not taking into account their results, Norwich has had a multiple amount of players who have done extremely well for them. I mean, they've had Buendia, who's been so influential for them, and Todd Cantwell in that midfield, and he's also been pushing up front, pulling in goals and assists left, right and centre for the club. I think they've been absolutely incredible all season, and I think it's unfortunate that they're currently sat at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, Buendia and Todd Cantwell also pushing towards the top of the assist chart. I don't think anybody's going to overtake De Bruyne, but they're certainly pushing him, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Obviously, the 2019-2020 season has seen the introduction of the video assistant referee. Do you think this has a positive or a negative effect on the league?
Louis, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I am not exactly for VAR. I think it's gone extremely against what football's about, to be honest. I think football misses that excitement in the Premier League now. I think VAR would be extremely good if it was used consistently. We've had handballs constantly ruled out, and I thought the rules at the start of the season stated that any handball in the box would either cause a penalty or it would stop an attack, and I thought the referee had to stop play due to that. But if it was used consistently, I think, like it is in rugby, I think if VAR was used consistently and the referees had more control over how VAR was used, I think it would be really influential for the game.
Obviously, Wolves have been on the receiving end of quite a lot of VAR calls.
They have
that
indeed.
Game against Liverpool, obviously the Virgil van Dijk potential handball on the road to Liverpool's Sadio Mane goal. And obviously the inconsistency of using the screen at the side of the pitch. Obviously we've barely seen that. We saw it in the FA Cup, and I think we've seen it in the Premier League once this season. And it just makes me think, why is it there? What's it there for? Nobody's using it.
I ask that every day.
And are there any transfers that could be made in January that could improve teams?
I think there are multiple teams that could use a bolster to their squad. I think Aston Villa, considering where they are in the league at the moment, they need to put away more goals. So I think a really strong striker who can finish every chance for them would be a really good way to bolster their squad. I also think Arsenal, considering their extremely good attack with Aubameyang, Lacazette, and I think if Pepe was used better, they definitely need to improve on their defence. They need to bring in some solid defenders to keep those goals out, because Leno can't do everything himself. He's a very good goalkeeper. He's got some very good pair of hands, but the problem is he just needs a good rock in front of him that can keep most of those goals out. But also Norwich as well. They need some experienced players. They've got a young side, and unfortunately, to last in the Premier League, you need leaders, and that's one thing that Norwich are lacking at the moment.
Obviously, Villa have bought in Mwana Samatta for 10 million from Genk, the Tanzanian international. Arsenal, obviously, as we saw in last week's episode, have been linked with Jerome Boateng. They've also got Saliba coming back from St Etienne in the summer after his loan move. And obviously, Norwich have brought in players like Ondrej Duda, who are supposed to give them a bit more squad depth.
Continuing that Jerome Boateng transfer, I think Arsenal could really use a fast centre-back that could really sweep up behind their defenders, because currently they're not exactly blessed for pace at the back.
No,
so
of course.
Using Boateng's pace, he's known to be a very fast centre-back, and if they had that player who can sweep up behind, I think that could be really influential for their season.
And obviously, as a Wolves fan yourself, you'll be wanting to tell us how you think this season has gone for them so far.
Well, to be honest, Louis, I couldn't be more proud to be a Wolves fan at the moment. It's incredible to think 6 years ago we were in League One battling with Leyton Orient at the top of the table, but now we're in Europe. We're competing against the current best team in the world, the European champions, Liverpool. And since Nuno has come in that first championship season, he's put everything into the club. Of course, we've got an extreme Portuguese backbone, and that's really helped because it's helped them all being Portuguese, because it's brought all of them together. And they're not only friends on the pitch, they're friends off the pitch, and you can see that when they play football, because they're all extremely knowledgeable of how each other play, and that's just really helped bolster our season and put us where we are at the moment.
And now on to our game of the week, which in this is the FA Cup 4th round tie between Shrewsbury and Liverpool. Shrewsbury is 16th in League One, Liverpool top of the Premier League, unbeaten in the league with only one draw and the rest of them being wins. They are 60 places apart in the Football League. Liverpool have had 64 points out of 21 games this season. Liverpool beat Everton in the last round 1-0 with a second string side. Everton playing their full strength side. Shrewsbury also won their replay against Bristol City with a goal from Aaron Pierre. So the question is, will Jurgen Klopp play a stronger side? Will he play that sort of second string side that he played against Everton? And can Shrewsbury cause an upset against the European champions? Bish, what are we thinking about this game?
I mean, we all love a giant-killing FA Cup game, don't we, Louis? But I really think if Shrewsbury can put out a strong side and they just try and keep working at that Liverpool side, I think maybe they could get something out of the game. But if we're completely honest here and look at straight facts, Liverpool are just too dominant for them.
So what do you think the score is going to be in this game?
Straight up 4-0.
I'm going to be a bit different. I like a bit of a giant killing, but I don't think it's going to be killed in this game in particular. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to say it's going to go to a replay. And that brings us to the end of this week's episode. So thank you to Bish for coming on. He's been excellent.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having me.
So that is all for this week's episode. Be sure to go and follow me on Instagram at L15weekly. Leave your opinions for Hero of the Week in the comments below, and on Twitter at L15weekly, or on Instagram at L15weekly. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.